Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to another episode on your favorite Little Slaw YouTube channel. In the past few videos of Locust playlist, we are looking into how to set up the load test, and in fact, in the previous video, we saw about how to use the constant load. And just to give you a quick recap, so this is how the pattern of the constant load. So it's going to be the same load throughout the entire test, and in fact we saw where when and where we use this constant load. And coming back to the ramp up load, so this is the pattern. So you must have observed the difference by now. So there is a ramp up, which is we are gradually, or the tool is gradually increasing the users over time to find the breaking point. So now you know where we use this test, right? So for the stress testing, because the objective of stress testing matches exactly the same point here, which is we gradually increase the users over time to find the breaking point. So when we will use this, so to find the system's capacity limits, and to identify the performance degradation points, and where we want to understand the realistic user arrival patterns. Now let's do a step-by-step implementation of it. So firstly, we'll have to create a basic ramp up using the CLI, and then we'll have to see how does it really work. And to do that, here is the command, but before that, let me cd into the environment first. Cd locust env, and then again cd constant load. Yep. So now here again, this is the command, which is locust minus f, and then constant load.py, the one that we saw yesterday. Let me just show that to you. So I have a constant load.py, and then the host, which the URL, and then I am adding the users here, the users, and then the spawn rate, and then the runtime with header. So what exactly happens here is I start at 0 users, right? And then I add 10 users per second, like per second, and then I'm reaching the maximum load. Say, for example, if I want to reach for around like 200 users, I can make it to 200, and my expectation or my objective is to reach 200 users after 20 seconds. So I'm going to maintain the 200 users for the remaining time, and this is how my ramp up works. So now we can even create a custom ramp up shape, and we're going to see this in the next section now. So let me quickly create a file. I'm going back to the ramp up load here, and let me create a file, the locust file.py, and this here is the code, and this is the very basic code. And let me quickly explain this to you, what really happens with this code. So let me start with the first step, that is the stage shape, the class where I have the load test shape. So this class, the load test shape, controls how users ramp up during the test stage by stage. And then in the stages list, here at the bottom, you can see from line 18 to 23. Here you can see each dictionary in the list represents a stage, where it starts with the duration, which is how many seconds from the start the stages until runs until. And then I have the second stage, and I have like multiple stages here, and then I'm setting up the users count here, so the total number of users active in the stage, and then the spawn rate, which is how quickly new users are added to the system. And yeah, in fact, this here is the example, like the duration 120 users, 100, and then the spawn rate. So which means for this part, it means like until 120 seconds have passed, I aim for 100 users. So with 10 new users spawned per second to the maximum. And then I have the tick method, which is in line 26. Here you can see the tick method. So this method is repeatedly called by Locust during the test, and this checks for the current elapsed time and returns the user count and spawn rate for the current stage. If the test run time is less than the stage duration, so if you see here the stage duration, it activates that stage and returns its config, and after the last stage it returns none to end the test. And this is how it works. And in fact, here I have got 5 stages. If you see here, I've got like 1 2 3 4 5. So the stage 1, which is 0 to 1 minute, which is 0 to 60 seconds, as you see here, which will ramp up to 50 users. And then I have got my second stage from 61 to 120, and then same one from 121 to 180 and then 181 to 240. So same way it actually runs 5 different stages. And then even in the ramp up user, the HTTP user part, if you see here, so this class actually, which means the HTTP user class, simulates the user behavior during the test. And we all know the wait time, which is the think time part, which tells the locus that each user will wait between 1 and 3 seconds between tasks. And then we have got the get posts, right? So this method is an at task. So each simulated user calls the posts method. If you see here, it calls the post, which is actually a get request, and then finally it prints the ramp up request. So this is what is happening here. And just to give you a quick summary, so where do we use this? So we use this when we want a controlled but a gradual ramp up in load testing, and this is very common for performance baselines, for stress testing, or even for soak testing as well. And this lets us to test how our system can handle the increasing load. We can even spot the bottlenecks, and even we can see the system behavior under any realistic user growth. And now let me quickly run this file. So I'm in the constant load. Let me do a quick ls. Yep, I have my, oh sorry, I have to navigate to the cd ramp up load ls. Yep, I have my ramp up locust file.py. So I'll run my file, which is locust minus f locust file.py minus minus host equals https json placeholder dot typico.com headless. So please note that we don't need for any users or runtime. Usually we used to add the users and runtime part here, right? But here we don't need to add because it's already added in the duration part. So the load test shapes controls everything that we have given. So when I give an enter here, so now we can see the output where we can see the current users, the rate per second, and the type that we send, and then the name of the pull request that we send, the request, the average, and 95, and all these values in here. Yep, so this will actually give us a clear picture of it. Yeah, so if you see here, it has got ramp up request, and here you can see the get posts, the number of requests, as I told you, the fails, the pass, the average, minimum, everything, like whatever we need to extract. And in fact, here we can see the number of requests that we wanted to run it in the manner, in the fashion that is in the ramp up fashion. So that's what happens. And here, if you see it is continuously ramping up the request, and that's what it is showing now. It's ramping up the request, and then after a few seconds, it will maintain a steady state, and then again it will ramp up the request, and then again it'll go back to the steady state. So this is the formula of how the ramp up request works, or basically the ramp up load works. So here you can see we have got the ramp up request, and then we have got the steady state requests. Yep, so here until now we are continuously ramping up the load. And yeah, if you see here, the where is that again? Yeah, if you see here, the shape test updating to 100 users at 10 spawn rate, and then we are ramping to 100 users at a rate of 10 per second, right? So it's very clear. We can very easily see how many users we are ramping up and how many users we are running now. And here, yeah, you can see the message. Where is that again? So this actually gives us a clear picture of what exactly is happening and how are we ramping up the request and how are we spawning, and every single thing that we see, that we can see in this as part of the system, because we have very well shape the stages here, right? So that's how it actually works. So we don't need to give the user load uh, in the request. Rather, we can design that inside the code itself, right? In fact, if you want to see that in a better visualization, I can show that to you. Let me run it again. So locust minus f, sorry, locust minus f, and then locust file.py minus minus host equals https json placeholder dot typicode.com, and then I'm going to remove the headless, and then I'm going to run it. This will take me to the browser, and I'm going to open the browser. And if you see here, I don't have options to add the number of users here, right? So previously we used to add the number of users in the spawn, right? But here I want to click on start. And if you see the chart, that is the response time chart or whatever the chart it is, you can very well understand the total number of requests. So if you see here, the total number of requests and in fact the number of users. Yep. So this is what we wanted to see. So if you see, it keeps on ramping up, right? And then at some point of time it gets to the steady state, and then again it ramps up, and then it again get back to the steady state. So this is how it keeps on ramping up, and it maintains and it increases the the plane, the plateau of running the test. So if you see here, yep, now we are in the steady state, right? And after a few seconds it will again start doing the ramp up part. And same way, yeah, here you can see even the what's it as total request. So it has got into the steady state here. So now we are in the steady state, which is the number of users is into 50 numbers, 50 users, and then slowly it will keep on increasing. It will get increased to the next level for the next level of ramp up. See, yeah. So now after the steady state of like 1 minute, again started to ramp up, and now after a few seconds, yep, so it keeps on ramping up. So this is how exactly, if you want to emulate this scenario, please do follow this technique to do the ramp up load. With that, I come to the end of this video. So until I see you all in another interesting video, it's bye bye from Vasan Changam and your favorite Little Star YouTube channel.